The scoring pass to Louis Bielbiere. George Turner's had more starts for Scotland this season than he has his club, the Quins. Oh, coming through, look at that! Kyle Stone. The angle, the speed, and the step. Made to look so easy.
And fans commit to the Maul defence. But as it is, they bounce out Turner. Look at that. Turner round the corner. And Stain on the angle, right against the run of play. Little ball off the hip. He does well, actually, to reel it in. Gets that right-footed step, and not even Antoine Dupont can stop Kyle Stain. Scoman is over it. Scoman! Has he got it down?
Oh, what a weekend of rugby we've had. Six Nations at its best. Six Nations at its best. Welcome to the Rugby Scoop. I'm not by myself. I'm with the Hugh Griffin. I'm with Vuyo Zanga. Jade is on his way. Griff, how was your weekend? How have things been over there in the UK?
It's good, man. Yeah, a hell of a weekend of rugby. Rugby's greatest championship confirmed. And yeah.
Oh, you couldn't wait to say that.
I got to get it in, mate.
Snuck it in there. Snuck it in there. Vickers, Miranda, how are things?
Yeah, good, man. Everything is good. Yeah, we all owe Scotland and Italy an apology after this last weekend because we didn't give both teams any chance, actually. But
Jade is probably gonna cry and say, I told you guys.
Yeah, good footy this weekend, definitely.
Fantastic footy.
Yeah, I told you.
Don't ask me how. Jade, how are things going, man? How's your Sunday?
It's going good, guys. Yeah, a lot of rugby this weekend. A lot of good rugby down south and a lot of bad rugby up north. So, yeah, you can determine where's north and south for you. But, yeah, a lot of good.
Whatever. Yeah, gents, I mean, without wasting any more time, we don't have a lot of, news making a lot of headlines this past week. So what we can do is Hugh Griffin, what's his name? The chairman or CEO of Rugby Football Union in England has backed or is backing Steve Borthwick following his very, very, what is it? It's not a sound. It's actually an awful Six Nations campaign. But Rugby Football Union are backing him. Your thoughts on this?
Look, I always think that it says something when they come out and say this, doesn't it? I mean, the fact that he's felt the need to come out less than 24 hours after the game. They didn't even wait till Monday. On a Sunday, they're putting out statements. It tells the story that they've even felt the need to make it. I don't know, if I'm Razor, I'm just saying, keep my diary open.
Oh man, Jade, do you think Rugby Football Union, England, have the guts to change Steve Borthwick at this stage or at this time? I mean, New Zealand just appointed a new coach this past week. But looking at the current situation now, the union is backing its coach. What do you think of this?
Yeah, you know what, guys, in recent years, we've seen international teams pulling the plug on coaches, a year out from the World Cup. And I think, with a team that has never, ever sacked a manager doing it, 18 months out from a World Cup, with the All Blacks doing it, I think anything is possible. Anything is possible. I did feel that we would have one casualty from the Six Nations. I felt that one of the coaches would go. And for me, I didn't think it was Borthwick. I thought maybe it would have been Townsend or Gauthier. I think whoever had a bad season between the two of them would have left, But I'm thinking now, looking at who's available and looking who can be available, the proper coach is available, you might just need to pull the plug on the current coach, That's the trend now. Teams are not supposed to do it. I mean, Rassi showed in 2017-18 when he came in, won a World Cup within a year, 18 months or so of prep. So it's not impossible to win a World Cup. You know, we don't need a whole 4-year cycle to do it. So we can see a few brave calls now from, you know, rugby unions.
Yeah, fair enough. Vickers, we spoke about this last week. Dave Rennie has been appointed as the new All Blacks coach. Your thoughts on this?
I mean, I shared my views last week. I think that there's always going to be a great appointment for me. I think probably one of the best coaches out there. I'm probably rating in the top 3 in terms of just how he has obviously come leaps and bounds in terms of his coaching. Yeah, just to share some thoughts on Borthwick. You guys must remember, Eddie Jones got fired, I think it was 2 years before the World Cup, actually.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think he got fired 2 years before the World Cup. I think it was a similar cycle to what we have now. But what is interesting for me is that England could go 4-0 next week.
Oof.
That's going to be crazy.
Oof. 4-0. Is it even possible? A question before we get into the nitty-gritty. Yeah, we will be covering the Six Nations, the results that have taken place. We're going to start off with Wales and Ireland, and then we travel down to Murrayfield. Then from Murrayfield, we're going down to Rome. From Rome, we're going down to Auckland, Eden Park, at the Garden. And then we go to Brisbane. Or was it Canberra? New South Wales. We're covering everything, guys. We're covering everything. But a question before we dive into all these other topics. Saw a post on Twitter, gents. Jade, this one is for you. One of the players' dads posted this online. It might come across maybe as guys are getting overconfident there by the Springbok camp. After France taking 50 and England imploding, who should we meaning the Springboks, consider as our main threats for 2027? After France taking 50 and England imploding, who should we, the Springboks, consider as our main threats for 2027, Jade?
So in 2017, Bowden Barrett scored 4 tries against the Wallabies. And Gregory Paul stated in the New Zealand Herald, he made a headline, give us the World Cup now. So that's a similar chat to that. Guys, we cannot take the game for granted. We cannot take anybody can beat anybody on the day. We've seen it last year, Australia and New Zealand beat the Boks. And the Boks went to France, beat France with 14 men. You know, we never thought it was possible. So anybody can beat anybody on a day. When it comes to quarterfinal rugby, anything can happen. You've got to be on it. And, you know, for me, talk like that is come on, Mr. Feinberg, come on. We don't need those that talk now because, you know, you can be your worst enemy as well. So, yeah, a lot can change in 18 months. And also, you get a quarterfinal against whoever, you get the wrong referee, you get in the wrong side of the referee, you can lose that. Just saying that. Just saying that.
Hugh Griffin, watching Six Nations, is there anyone who's a threat to the Springboks currently?
It's difficult. It's difficult. Scotland? No, come on. No, but I don't look. If Wales keep improving at the rate that they are improving, they're going to be incredible in 20 games time. So you know, but it's difficult. The problem we'll get on to talk about France when we get to speaking about the French game. I genuinely believe that France's talent, especially in the backs, is comparable to the Springboks, if not better in some positions. With France, it's all about the mentality. And that's what the Springboks have that nobody else has, is the mentality.
Oof. Vickers, no threat to the Springboks in current world rugby.
No. As the guy said, it's you can't be thinking like that. It's an elite sport. I mean, we all know this. You've got look at the Cricket World Cup for a perfect example.
Oh yes,
South Africa went in unbeaten, beating England, beating New Zealand, and then they choked in the semi-final. So you can't say that. And I think just for me, it's just that I think we we have to look at the Springboks and look at how they would be challenged. And I think that's what Scotland did. Obviously, we're going to cover it. I think that's what Scotland did. They literally challenged France's forwards and they disrupted everything. So that's what you can look at. So for me, I think you can't really call like that. It's very if that was my dad, I would definitely call him out. I'd call him and tell him, hey, don't do that. I mean, you can't be looking like you're arrogant now on online. Even if if your son now has a bad game, everyone's gonna come after him. They're gonna say, his dad thinks this is what's happening in rugby. So that's very dangerous ground that he's playing with.
Fair enough. Without wasting any time, then Hugh Griffin. We've spoken about Wales quite often. We speak about everyone quite often on this pod. And I think I always like to reference Vickers Miranda, Vuyozanga, who's currently on this pod as well, when he said, only thing you can do now in Wales' situation is defend like monsters, is defend like Trojans, is defend. On Friday night, Wales did just that. This past week, I think they mentioned, or 2 weeks ago, they mentioned that they had acquired a new defense coach. And obviously the past 3 games I've seen from Wales, there's been some lapse on defensive perspective, right? And a lot of teams were getting purchase from certain players, pulling the ball to the edge, and then the first receiver is like 15 meters away from the breakdown, and those long passes from a 9 takes out 4 or 5 Welsh defenders. We didn't see that against Ireland on Friday, and it was almost like man for man type of D. And I was very impressed. I think there was one time they defended about 10 to 12 phases near the goal line. They ended up snatching an intercept, turnover ball, kicked it out, and reset again. Ireland didn't have a lot of answers. Yes, they might have scored early, and that probably puts a bit of pressure on Wales, but Wales also stuck in the game, for a good 73, 75 minutes. And this is what we've been asking for from a Welsh perspective. And what are your thoughts, Hugh, regarding this game?
I think it's the best game that Wales have played under Steve Tandy so far. And I think it's fair to say that every game of the Six Nations, Wales have improved. I think from a defensive point of view, you can't question the effort. And to be fair, I don't think that there was many questioning the effort, particularly of the likes of Daft Jenkins, Aaron Wainwright. Alex Mann has copped a bit of flack. People aren't sure exactly what it is that he brings, but this was his best game for Wales by far, in my opinion. And the back row balance looked good. The centres looked comfortable. So I think that what I particularly liked in defence was they looked connected. They were all on the same page. They were all making the same actions. They looked like that they were looking at each other, communicating properly. And, one of my biggest pet peeves in rugby as a whole is when, a player shoots out of the line and then stops just short of making a tackle. So they make a big show of giving line speed, but then don't actually do anything when they get to the point of making a tackle. Whereas Wales weren't doing that. They were making the tackles. They were making the hits. There were some dominant shots as well. I thought Dewey Lake put in a couple of dominant shots. That was great to see. It's nice to see him putting in the performances we know that he's capable of. I think that there's still some context that we need to add to it. Firstly, we talk about Wales improving. The bar was on the floor. So I don't think that you deserve too much pats on the back for being better than we were, say, against England. I think they deserve credit for backing up a much better performance against Scotland with an even better performance against Ireland, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
However, I do think that Ireland's attack was extremely dull and unimaginative in this game. I think that there wasn't a lot of deception. It didn't seem like Wales had any trouble reading Ireland's attack. Eddie James is still developing as a 13 defensively. And yet, I think he got the better of Gary Ringrose. Gary Ringrose has just come back off a Lions tour as an outside centre. Eddie James is still on 7 games ever played at outside centre, and Eddie James has outplayed him, in my opinion. Got a dominant hit on him as well. So I do think that there is the context of Ireland were poor in attack. However, having said that, Ireland still averaged 3.3 points per 22 entry in this game, which is above average. And again, for all of Ireland, in my opinion, were wasting energy attacking in the wrong parts of the pitch, trying to play phases in their own half, which was just, I'd never understand why teams do that, especially at test level. But when they stopped mucking about and actually got down into Wales' 22, they still managed to score their 4 tries pretty easily, pretty, straightforward that they came to them.
Yeah.
So is it improvement from Wales? Yes, definitely. Is it, good, in comparison to other teams? Probably still no. And then I still think the attack is a problem. Again, only 2 line breaks. Again, less than 10 defenders beaten across the whole team. When your top defenders beaten, when your most razzle-dazzle attacker is a loose head prop, something's going very wrong. So I do think the attack is an issue, and I think that Dan Edwards as a fly half is a young guy with a lot of rugby ahead of him, a lot of international caps ahead of him.
Yeah.
At the moment, he's looking a bit like a square peg in a round hole in terms of what he's being asked to do in this system and how this system prevents him from showing his natural talents, or you could say that his natural talents are not suited to this system, whichever way you want to call it. But clearly, it's not clicking at the moment with this fly half, and the question has to go to the coaches of why they are trying to force this issue, when you'd say probably now we have enough data to suggest that it's not happening at this moment in time. So I think those are the questions. There's still questions going into the next game, but if they improve again the same amount that they've improved game on game so far this Six Nations, I do think that they have a shot at picking up the W against Italy.
Ooh, it's a big one against the Azzurri. Vickers, your thoughts on Friday night's action-packed Wales versus Ireland in Dublin?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. In terms of the defense, I mean, Scoop, you also said it. They worked really hard. So I saw that they were working really hard. The good thing is that they had numbers on feet, and I think Ireland started running out of numbers to attack. So for me, that just goes to show that they focus on they really focus on their strength and conditioning, and obviously like the defense being able to be connected. So yeah, so it's credit to them. I think they were always going to go there as underdogs. I mean, whatever score was going to come out, it would have been something that was expected, until obviously the game is the closest as we've seen it to be. So for me, I think the credit to them. It's not easy to go to Ireland and obviously put them under pressure. We've seen it a couple of times from teams that they've gone there, they've copped a couple of big scores as well. I think it's only learning. It's a stepping stone. It's only a building up to the next phase. I think there's only one international team that's not under pressure at the moment in terms of performance. Whatever they deliver, we will obviously respect. I think that's Wales. But in saying that, I think obviously they are making changes, which is good, and it can only get better from here.
Yeah. No. I agree fully here. Jade, your concerns or anything you've seen from an Irish perspective, understanding where Ireland has been the past couple of years, I mean, Ireland were number 1 team in the world at one point in this 5-year tenure, right? Leading into 2023 World Cup, got knocked out in the quarterfinals, but was still quite impressive in the Six Nations. But now, currently, I mean, we can't make out what it is about Ireland or the identity, of their play. We understood them under Sexton, and we saw what they were doing on attack, what shape they were presenting, what different pictures they were presenting. On D, they were also quite as good. I mean, it's one of Dan Sheehan's probably not the greatest outings or campaign this year. I mean, he's been rated as one of the best hookers in the world, but in this campaign, I don't think I've seen much of him, Dan Sheehan. And I think Jameson Gibson Park, 50th cap, yes, they won and everything, but they didn't have the same energy they had against that they had against England for this game. I mean, you would think Ireland playing at home in Dublin, we knew what was expected from them. First 10 to 15 minutes, it's a blitz, quick play, quick phase, probably about 2 seconds per ruck. They would score first, and they would come running at you again, score first, score second, score the second try, or take a goal, a kick at goal, etc. Right? I mean, we knew by the time you look up, it's 10, 15 points to nil, and it's only 10 minutes in the game. But we're not seeing that ascendancy from Ireland at the moment. What do you make of this Irish team in this year's Six Nations campaign?
A mixed bag, Scoop. I would say it's a mixed bag. I mean, you look at the game against England, and they played the performance and the game plan they stuck to against England worked for them. On a day, nothing went wrong. They were flawless at times, caught England off guard, beat them aerially, and they won the game. Against the grain, they won the game. Even though England lost against Scotland the week before, we expected England to beat them. Looking at the first game against France, were flat. Against Italy, they did nothing really to wow us or to our seat in stating that they turned the corner, and then they just surprised us all with their performance against England. And against Wales, they looked flat again. I don't know. I'm looking at this team, looking at this Irish team, and I'm looking at the backline. The backline lacks a bit of X factor for me. When they had Bundy Aki and Ringrose a few years ago, and at least Bundy would bust a few tackles, get through. Yeah, Stuart McCloskey's had a good season or so, but I mean, I still think they need that Hansen or Keenan or somebody there in that backline, to have a bit of X factor. And if you're looking at the forwards this year, I think for me, Ireland currently, if you look at the players that's having good performances every week, you're looking at their locks and their flanks. I mean, even in their loosies. I mean, even Nick Timoni the weekend had a good game at open side. However, these are not the guys they need. They need new blood coming in, at prop, in the backline, at wings, in the outlet backs, because that's where they're struggling. I think if they don't have X factor. The depth chart is not that, deep as it was a few years ago. So, I don't know. Do you look at Leinster? Do you look at the way Leinster's performing? They've also been a little bit inconsistent at times this year. Do you put your finger on that? But can you actually go deep down and take a deep dive and really look at Leinster and blame Leinster? Or do you look at the other provinces not bringing through guys that they should? But then again, you look at the balance, between the different franchises in Ireland. So I don't know. Maybe it could be that Farrell served his, he cycled there. Maybe, they needed somebody new in there to freshen up things. But he's not going anywhere until the World Cup. How much innovation was actually put into Ireland in the last 18 months since Farrell was prepping for the British Lions? That's something that you got to look at. What new ideas did they bring into Irish rugby? New attack shapes, new defensive plans. Over the last year or so, I mean, his attention has been on the British and Irish line. So that's what I'm also looking at. How do they develop? This is not just a Six Nations problem. They've been like this inconsistent ever since the World Cup. Scoop. So I don't know. How much of a fact is it that my cat's left there? Because, I'm mentioning that they're flat, but if you're looking at how much my cat had and the influence he had in that team in terms of the attack shape, he had a massive influence, And then you're looking at somebody like Furlong. I mean, I don't like to use this phrase, but surely this guy should look at himself and say, should I leave the game before the game leaves me? Because, I mean, it's another, average performance that he put on in that Irish shirt. So, I don't know, Scoop. I don't know where to from now, but I think they need to freshen things up. Maybe Farrell should get another top assistant coach in there, that comes with a new plan or a new attack shape or something, if it's attack or deep, but Farrell's more of a defensive coach, he's been a mastermind in terms of defense. So maybe an attack coach in there that can sharpen up things. I don't know, because it doesn't look like the guy that I can think of that can come into the backline, Mac Hansen. It doesn't look like he's get a run of games in, 3 or 4 or 5 games in without getting injured. And I mean, he's somebody, that adds X factor. So where to now? Where to now? It can only be something in the backing stock that they can do. They're not a bad team. On the day, they can beat anybody. It's given they've got the players, they've got the capital to do it. But I just think maybe things are a bit stale in terms of the coaching and in terms of their identity at the moment. Maybe they just need something just to think on.
Yeah, Vickers?
Yeah, Jade is talking about Bandi Aki and the combination of Bandi Aki and Ringrose. Maybe that is the recipe because that's what Tui Poloti and Jones are doing in Scotland. So maybe that is the recipe for Northern Hemisphere teams.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Let's not forget, I think you mentioned Alex Mann. 31 tackles, 31 tackles. And I think this was within 56 minutes or 60th minute or something like that. But that was massive. That was very massive. But now jumping on to Murrayfield, Scotland versus France. Vickers, take us through your thoughts on this particular historic 90-point match at tier 1 level. 90 points. Woo! That's a lot. Talk to me.
Defense coaches must have been going on holiday. Maybe is it a bank holiday here tomorrow? Maybe that's why. No, look, no, actually, Scoop, I didn't watch the game fully, but I did catch a couple of highlights like this afternoon. For me, the one thing that I picked up is that Scotland did put France under pressure. They actually disrupted almost everything they were trying to do. I mean, Skamhov's chasing Dupont when he's trying to do the scoop and the arc, the interception tries. Carstein was brilliant. The wingers actually, the back three actually, I thought King Horn had a better decent game than we've seen. I'm pretty sure Hugh was it Hugh or Jade made a comment about King Horn. I think King Horn was listening because I think he had a better game. Yeah, besides it, I think the forwards stood up. Like we did say in the week, last week, that if the forwards stand up, they can put them under pressure. And I think that's what they did. The forwards stood up. The forwards were accounted for. I mean, bringing a tight head like Zander
Off the bench.
Ferguson off the bench. That's actually smart. And I mean, as soon as he was coming on, you noticed that the camera went to the scrum coach, which is obviously the former French South African player. But yeah, so for me, I think the one thing that Scotland did, they deserved the win. They put the work in. They put them under pressure. I mean, to think that at 61 minutes, the score was 47-14. Imagine. And obviously, France just got their groove back on, and then they just started piling on the points. But other than that, I thought, I mean, it's a test match level. That is how you want to win. But obviously, Gautier will have to look at himself and look at his defense, how it was on that game, because I don't think it was great. Some of the tries, if you look at Hugh Jones' try under the poles, the defender, there's a short runner, but he's worried about the player at the back. And yeah, they got beaten. The scrum of pick and go. And then the switch play, almost offload, and then the player runs under the poles with missed tackles. Maybe, I don't know. What do you guys thought on those outside backs of those French wingers? Let me not say outside backs. Let me say wingers. I'm not impressed. Yeah. I think they're all about just scoring tries. They're not all about defense. They're all about just scoring tries.
I was gonna jump in after you spoke, actually, because I was gonna say, obviously, I think I've said this in the WhatsApp group as well, or I've said this on my timeline. Like, France were not allowed to play their normal game, and what they've kind of implemented in the past couple of weeks is making sure they've got the glove component sorted. So when you kick those aerial balls, there's always 2 or 3 players waiting for the tap to the back, and that's broken play. in that broken play, they can actually kick the ball back to you, and then they can back themselves using the speed of their two wingers. And obviously, they will blitz everybody. And I think what Scotland did well was make sure that in those aerial contests, they are either fumbling or they're either catching the ball. And so France didn't get a lot of scraps. As if you notice, watch them against Italy, watch them against Ireland as well. So if you don't give them that broken play, point number one from my side, and if you don't give them that broken play and they kick and chase, there's an element of them now having to probably start creating a bit more tries. And you could see that when they had the ball at times, maybe from a set play, they would bring the one wing to the other side and it will add extra numbers, which Scotland kind of struggled with that on defense, because a few times either Bill Ray will come around or the other, what's his name, Atasango or something like that, he would either come around as well to create an extra number on the edge. You saw Bill Ray obviously try and kick, and Finn Russell stuck his hip out or his bum to kind of try and block, because he knew that speed and that pace that they have, that's where they'll punish you. And there wasn't a lot of it in this game. Scotland decided to use their forward pack quite a lot and a lot of carries. They didn't offer France a lot of options, I think, on attack or on defense. And then you mentioned the defensive part, because there's a time where Kinghorn, I think he was cutting back inside, and it was a wing and a center, and they were like just touching him and not even making a dominant hit. I mean, I don't know. I don't look at the stats regarding dominant hits from a French perspective, maybe throughout the competition. I think Scotland were the only team so far that have made France start playing a bit of rugby, almost giving them a kind of that Springbok type of a test. And then we move on to the scrum element. I don't think France do have the scrum that they've had maybe under Antonio. When Antonio was a tight head or was it loose head prop, they were quite strong back in 2022, 23. And maybe after that, they haven't had a solid base. They've chosen or picked big, heavy boys, but I don't know what to make of this. They've got the heavy boys, yes, but I don't know what to make of their interplay between forwards and backs. They've chosen Olivon, who's a loose forward. They've moved him to lock. But when I look at the game, I mean, there's not much influence from him during this game. And you look at the Scottish loose forwards versus the French loose forwards. You look at the Scottish tight five versus the French tight five. I mean, Skuman as a prop, he probably had more carries than any other forward in that game, if I'm not mistaken, from just an eye test on what I saw. But yeah, from my side, because I think, the defense is not that great, but if you put them under pressure, obviously, you're facing a guy like a Kyle Steyn, who's quite a massive big boy as well. He's not the smallest guy around. And yeah, they got beaten on maybe certain plays as well. I mean, if you look at the Kyle Steyn try where it was a line out close to the try line or goal line of France, and they faked maul, and the two comes around the edge or around the corner, and Kyle Steyn hits an inside line. He beat the winger, he beat the 9, he beat one of the loose forwards that was standing in that area. So I think it was smart play by Scotland, and Finn Russell just looping around every single play or a lot of times. I thought that was impressive to give him that extra number on the edge. Maybe a few mistakes from a Finn Russell here and there, but other than that, I thought Scotland did well by not giving France the scraps from my perspective. Griffin, take us through your thoughts on this particular game.
That try, sorry, Griff, that try was criminal. That try is straight off the. How can you score off a fake ball and you run back to the forwards and no one touches him? Jesus.
Jade, I'll let you jump in after Hugh. Huh? I didn't see your hand, sorry.
Yeah, so crazy. I was in shock watching this game. Absolute shock. You know, when do you see a team that looked so set for the Grand Slam? If you look at all the stats and everything of the games played so far, France were miles better than everybody else. So the gap was huge. And so I was watching this game going, what am I seeing? And I think that to credit Scotland, I think that exactly what, as you alluded to, Scoop, the French play off transition, they play off counterattacks, they play off chaos. But the thing is, if you just don't give them any transitions, then that's a major, you know, the oxygen for their fire is being stopped. And look, it's a lot easier said than done. Just don't give them any transitions. You know, it's okay, go and do it. But if you look at the club rugby stats for this season, and you go on Opta's website and you filter by touches per error, so you're looking for a big number here. You want to see a team that's getting a lot of touches between making errors. Number one in that ranking is Glasgow Warriors. Number two in that ranking is Edinburgh. So the Scottish are the best players in the world, or in club rugby at least, at keeping hold of the ball and not making errors in phase play, which is, it's almost like kryptonite to the French. If you're not making errors, then the French are going to struggle to create opportunities against you. Now, in that first half, I think it's easy to forget, France created a lot of opportunities and maybe could have and should have finished more. And there was a point where, you know, France went 7-0 down and they got back to 14-7 up. And you thought, okay, here we go. You know, they're going through their process now. We'll see them take control of this match. But then they lost it for whatever reason. And I think a big part of the reason they lost it was they got very on the wrong side of Mr. Gardner. And Scoop, I think we should talk about this because we were obviously conversing in the chat. If you look at the penalties that France was giving away, penalty one was a scrum penalty. Okay, whatever. You know, they happen.
Yeah.
I think penalty two was a tackle off the ball. Penalty three was playing the 9 at the back of a ruck, and penalty four was also playing a 9 at the back of a ruck. Marchand is the stupidest penalty I've ever seen. Literally, Ben White's on his way to the ruck, and Marchand gets up from an offside position and stands in his way, like right in front of the referee. Like maybe at Toulouse, you know, in the top 14, the referees TMO check what badge is on his jersey. Toulouse, okay, play on.
Yeah,
you know, but international level, obviously Angus wasn't having it, and Angus calls Dupont over and says, "Okay, it's a lot of penalties now." But what's interesting is that none of those penalties had been conceded in France's 22. All of them were either in Scotland's half or around, you know, just beyond the halfway line. But what Angus said, if you listen to the words he uses, he says they're just stupid penalties. He said you've conceded 4 penalties in a row, and they're daft penalties. They're ones you don't need to give away.
Yeah.
And so, you know, Scotland get into France's 22 and they concede another penalty. Now, it was a marginal offside. I've looked at it a couple of times and I'm like, whoa, it's tight. It's tight. And originally Angus says 13 and he ends up yellow carding 10. And if I went through all the penalties in the game, the ARs called 4 of the penalties against France. Though Angus has missed them and the ARs have come in and said, you need to penalise this guy. And like I said, the early penalties that France gave away were just stupid penalties that international rugby players shouldn't be giving away. But then as the game went on, Angus got harsher and harsher on France until the you would see get, you know, play on from a lot of other referees and a lot of other games. But I think because France had given away so many stupid penalties early on, it was in the referee's head to look out for stuff.
Yeah.
So they've only really got themselves to blame. And then, of course, you've got the Jegu gouge, which was a bad miss by the officials.
Oof.
You know, watching it back, you can see it in real time, and you can see it. They played the replay of the try, like after it was scored, and the commentators were saying, "Oh, there's been a gouge there," and the TMO doesn't go check. Angus doesn't see it on the screen. None of his ARs see it on the screen. It's a bad miss from the officials. So I think that basically France's heads went and they gave the officials reasons to penalise them. And then you've got Antoine Dupont, he chucks an intercept and then he throws a forward pass behind his own try line. Like when Antoine Dupont is doing that, it was like, forget
I laughed.
Forgets trying to blame any of the other players. When Anthony Dupont is doing stuff like that, forget it, go home. And yet, Scoop, when all is said and done, this France team that absolutely completely collapsed still scored 40 points and are still top of the Six Nations table.
Yeah, no, 100%, 110%. I think in terms of, the calls that you also just pointed out, I mean, any other day, like I personally think with the European ref, they get away with those things because they're used to the French guys in Investec Championship. They're used to them in the Six Nations over the years. And it kind of feels like they're almost like fans from my perspective. This is how I think. This is how I feel when I see an English guy going to ref France versus whoever, or a Scottish guy is going to ref France versus whoever, or an Irish guy is going to ref France against whoever. And it always feels like, the things that they got pinned for, they 99% of the time, they would have gotten away with them. And if you look at the Italian game, for example, I mean, there were so many small little details where I thought, oof, man, their scrum was collapsing. They didn't get pinned. The Irish guy who was the AR actually on this game on Saturday, he wouldn't pin France, and I felt Italy had the ascendancy in the scrum because the most powerful teams at scrum time usually get purchased, and they weren't getting those things, the Italian team. And this is how then you kind of note that, I would rather have a guy like a Ben O'Keefe, like an Angus Gardner, because at least you get the small things that they wouldn't get pinned. France will get pinned. I mean, Dupont making that pass in that goal in the goal line, in the end goal area was hilarious, to be honest. But I think with France, I mean, it almost felt like the All Blacks versus what is it? Versus Ireland in was it Wellington, the last test, where they were just, I mean, Barnes was just pinning them for any little thing that they were doing. Yes, it was stupid stuff, and you would think, oh, ref, these things you can let go. But yeah, it just felt in that way. For me, it kind of reminded of that game in 2022 when Ireland toured New Zealand and they ended up winning the series. The week before you got an Angus Tarvau getting red carded for for getting stuck on his feet because he got sidestepped and obviously copped one on the head, red card. The next week, Brodie Retallick, cops one on the head, broken cheekbone, and it's called a smother. And you were like, come on, guys. Last week, this guy got a red card for similar action. This week, this guy only gets a yellow, But nonetheless, I mean, in this game, totally, I think, honestly, Scotland did not give France anything. And it's kind of hard. It was probably hard for the French to actually get back into the game, For them, they were literally forced to play. And obviously, as Vuyo said, in the 60-something minute, you look at the scoreboard at 47-14 or something like that. The team that's on 47 points usually drops their heads in those situations. And the French got to come back and also score 40 points as well. And it's a 90-point game. 90-point game. Crazy. Jade, talk us through.
Scoop, you know what? I've been waiting long to speak about this one. A quick one on you there when you stated about the eye gouging. Gardner did say that, eye gouging is difficult to make a call for the TMO. The sighting commissioner will have a look at it. That's what he said. I don't know if that was a correct decision that he made from him, but I mean, you can also use common sense with that because it's a lot of footage you're going to go through when it comes to eye gouging. But if you're looking at Scotland, looking at the tries he scored, I mean, we stated there that, Kyle Steyn came against the Grey, set piece move when he scored. Kyle Steyn scored an intercept. Darcy Graham scored a try. The Wings scored 3 of the 6 tries, and not one of the try was out wide in the wing, in the channel. It wasn't the traditional wing try where they would finish from an overlap. Look at all of the Scottish tries. There was 2 or 3 passes, 12 plays around the rucks, pick up and goes, short passes, pops around the rucks. White scored, with a pickup around the ruck scored. Darcy Gray scored the same thing. Pickup, offload around the ruck, ran to their channel. So that is where Scotland targeted them. They played short balls. They played 2 or 3 passes together and set up the next ruck and went from there. They must have noticed and seen that, hey, either the French has locks that's not traditional locks, so it's loose forwards where they have the urgency, to defend at a different channel, or the props were not fit enough, to lift up the head at ruck time. They must have had some and a lot of tight recordings could work on the day. They scored a lot of tries from short ball, pick up and goals. The point was nowhere. In the old days, we would say that the 9 would play DJ, where he would sweep around in that channel. He was nowhere on the day. So for me, that was homework well done by the Scots. The game plan worked. Van Russell didn't even have the best of games, and they could put 50 points on against France. You would think that Van Russell would have had one of his, the best games of his life. He didn't have the best of games. Look at the first try they scored came from. What happened? He knocked the ball, or he lost control of the ball and just threw it away, and then they scored from there. The wing ran through. If you look at the way Scotland played, they played basic rugby. They played stuck to the game plan. They targeted the ruck area. They targeted the green rucks area. And the pillar post area, that's where they scored their tries. And that was brilliant. It was brilliant at the end of the day. Yeah, France came back at it. At the end of the day, they came at the end of the game. They came in there. Could have, got a losing bonus point if it wasn't for that penalty. They could have got a losing bonus point. Or what secured the Six Nations? Well, I do think they'll still win the Six Nations. But what a performance for Scotland. After all the criticism that what's the guy's name? Gregor Townsend endured, for us stating that he's going to Newcastle, Red Bull, and he's going with this guy, he's leaving, Franco should get the job. But this was planned by him and his coaching team, and it worked at the end of the day. It was a shock result. It was one of those results, that you can put up there with remember 99 when France just came out in the second half in the semi-final, just blitzed the All Blacks. So it was something like that, the second test between the Box and the All Blacks in Wellington, you put it in that category. So I think what Scotland did from the 20th minute to the 60th minute in this game was in that category. That 40 minutes was absolutely brilliant. Everything worked for them. They got goals that went their way. And we can criticize Angus Gardner for all we like, but when a team's on top of the other team and momentum goes their way, soon you will see 1 or 2 yellow cards comes in as well. So yeah, for me, the Scots deserve this win. It was very good to see. Whether they will win the Six Nations, I don't think so. But I was just impressed with the game plan at the end of the day. It worked for them.
No, fair. Moving on to Hugh's favorite game, Italy versus England. Italy versus England, guys. What a mess. What a mess. That is currently happening within the English camp. I don't know what they're training. I can't tell you what they're training. I can't tell you what their game plan is. I can't tell you where the motivation is. I can't tell you where the structures are. It's really, really difficult to understand this English team. It's easy to understand Italy because you can see what they're trying to do. You can see what they're trying to achieve. You can see the energy. You can see the commitment. But with England, I have no clue on what's currently happening. Last week, a lot of people were saying Italy might just pull it. And to be honest, I'm not surprised. I would not have been surprised if England won either. But I'm definitely not surprised by Italy beating England in Rome. And congratulations to Italy. What is this now? Second win in this comp for them? Beat Scotland. Now they've beaten England. Really, it looks like a semi-successful campaign for them. If they win against Wales, pretty decent. But, Griffin, your thoughts on England, your thoughts on Italy, what do you make of this game?
Well, firstly, I need to apologise. You guys were predicting, and Jade was predicting a an Italian result in this game, and a lot of people were. Even my mum said to me, "Yeah, Hugh, I think Italy are going to win this game," and I laughed in everybody's face, and I said they were wrong. I said Italy have never beaten England, and it's never going to happen, and I was wrong, and I'm sorry to all those people who I laughed at, who I've done wrong, and I'll be taking some time to reflect in the future. Before I'll be thinking very, very hard before I ever back England to win another rugby match.
Such a corporate HR response.
Look, I think it's okay to say this because I've seen a few Italian accounts posting this as well. I think this was Italy's worst performance of the Six Nations. It's a historic result, and trust me, like Italian fans have been through the dark days, and there's been plenty of brave loser Italian teams and stuff. So I would say to any Italy fan, just enjoy it as much as you can. Drink all of the drinks in your cupboard. Make most of days like this because they know they don't need to take it from a Wales fan to know that the bad times are never far away. But I thought that they won this game because of Menoncello. Tommaso Menoncello. Look at both of their tries. One, he just smashes through the England line and runs around Elliot Daly like he's not there. And then for the second one, there's 8 minutes left on the clock. Italy have just completely blown being 2 men up. They got driven into touch by 13-man England at a maul. I was going absolutely insane watching that. And then Paolo Garbisi, I have to say, I don't know if we'll get time to talk about it properly, but I thought that the Italian halfbacks stunk the place out, honestly. Both of them, both Garbisi brothers, I thought were very poor. But Paolo does a speculative crossfield kick to Montejuani. I thought it was going to go out of play. Montejuani takes it, stood still, facing sideways, manages to beat an English defender, and then Menoncello just runs out of nowhere, runs past 2 England defenders, smashes through another, draws the final one, and puts Marin on to go under the sticks. Tommaso Menoncello is the reason that Italy won that game. He was the one world-class player on that pitch in that game. England didn't have any players on his level. And without him, Italy wouldn't have won, I don't think. I think Italy's best game was probably against Ireland in round 2. And I think it's fair to say that Italy can play a lot better than that. From an England point of view, I want to get Coach V's point of view on this, because the selection. So Borthwick has made 9 changes from the team that lost to Ireland. So on the one hand, you're saying, okay, they've lost 2 games in a row. They were bad defeats, record home defeat to Ireland. But then 9 changes, completely new backline. Does that suggest that this guy doesn't have a vision of what he wants from the team? Which way do you see it?
Oh, big one.
Look, I think it's ringing crazy. It's ringing panic mode. It's ringing alarm bells because you would have lost against Scotland and went into the Irish game with hope, and obviously to get demolished like that at home, and then now you make those 9 changes, and then you lose your first test ever against the Italian side. It's going to be crazy this week. It's going to be crazy, and they're playing France last game. Oh my gosh, it's going to be crazy. So for me, the only thing I can say, Hugh, is that you can see that the coaching staff is starting to panic about something. I still feel they don't have combinations. They actually don't have combinations. They've had who's the kid? They started 9 again. Him and Ford are probably their best combo. Then after that, the centers are always changing. Lawrence is not getting a start. When he's in, he's got a new center partner. Okay, then you get Freeman, is Freeman at 13 now currently. Yeah. And then he was wing. I mean, he was wing a couple of months ago. Was it not in England, in New Zealand when he was playing wing? So for me, it's just they don't have combination, and you can start to see now they're starting to panic. Their coaching staff is starting to panic.
Yeah, it's quite strange because they had Ben Spencer, Finn Smith. We spoke about this last week or a couple of weeks ago, where we said with Ford, we understand the type of game plan they're looking for, but I mean, he's not the guy to give you or to chase the game, or has the ability to chase the game for you. But this week they've gone with Finn Smith, and we still don't see no Marcus Smith taking that first 5'8" position. But yeah, you can't. I don't know, guys. I don't know what to make of this team. Jade, maybe you have the answers. What's happening with England? What is Borthwick's strategy? I mean, he was a semi-finalist in 2023. I mean, and he's had what 12 games unbeaten. And Rusty Rasmus has said, yeah, you need to understand who they were playing in those 12 games.
He was playing Razor. He was playing Razor Robinson. Listen, I don't know. I think if they took a backward step, I think mentally they took a backward step. I think what happened, not the thing, but I think the way they played in the November series, they showed more attack shape. They showed more freedom. They showed more flair. They, what's this guy's name? Ollie at center, he looked damaging every time he took the ball. They lose his look busy. They even came up with their own bomb squad. So they looked like they were going in the right direction. However, after that loss against Scotland, things just went pear-shaped for them. And I think it's a mentality thing with this union. I think every time they get a knock, 1 or 2 or 3 defeats, everything crumbles with them. Whether or not they stick with Borthwick, I don't know. I really don't know, because I didn't expect them to lose yesterday. I thought that what would happen if Italy was in the lead after the 65th minute or 70th minute, I thought Italy would have stand a chance in this game. But when I saw England was in the lead after 65 minutes or so, I thought, okay, England will score another one. It'd be one of those games where Italy have them puffed, but then England won. But now if you're looking at the Borthwick, this guy's lost against Fiji for the first. He's lost against Fiji. He's lost against Italy for the first time. This guy, he lost against Argentina as well, So, how patient are they going to be with him? How patient are they going to be with him? That's cool. You go a step further. You look at what have England got. They've got exciting players coming through. I mean, as much as we don't like Pollock, I mean, his attitude or so, but he's the exciting player. He's a very exciting player. They've got good guys coming through. I mean, this guy, Finn Baxter, probably looks like one for the future. So they've got guys coming through. So is this the right coach to take them forward? And if it's not him, who are they going to go? Is the best coach for them actually coaching the women's team? Just asking this, I'm asking. So these are all the questions they're going to ask. We're 4 months ago, or a few months ago, we're talking about this team's got the easy passage through to the World Cup, and they can win the World Cup again in Australia. Now we look at it, everything's turned on its head. We're looking at it, we're stating, he's Borthwick the man, he's the man. Because I really like what they presented to me. The pictures they were showing to me in November looked good, They applied scoreboard pressure, they would score their tries, they had flair, they had impact from the bench, they looked fresh. Even the English guys they played in the Lions door, they were good, they looked solid. So I thought, okay, maybe England is the team now to have a look at. Borthwick, the first 2 years, he's just stabilized this team, and then now we can see what it's all about.
I mean, even when they traveled to New Zealand, they looked mint,
Yeah, they
only
looked
losing
okay.
by a few points.
They looked okay. But now you're looking at it, you're thinking to myself, like I said, maybe New Zealand rugby should hire Razor and fire him again just for losing against England, because the way they're playing now makes you think that they're a terrible team. And let's see how he picks us up, because they come to South Africa. Then they play South Africa in June, July. So I thought, this could be a massive test to see how far England has come. But now, they don't stand a chance.
Resell your ticket.
Yeah, they don't stand a chance.
No, sell that ticket, because it's a 50-pointer.
Big questions for, English rugby needed to answer now at the moment. They got to make some brave calls at the moment. At the moment, I think Borthwick has more questions and answers, at the moment. So I think he's under pressure.
Do we think maybe this English team doesn't have the experience, guys? I mean, Jamie George is probably Jamie George and Maro Itoje, probably the only two guys maybe that have over 100 caps, I think, in this team.
What is experience? What are you stating experience? We're looking at caps, or we're looking at being in situations? Because
they haven't been tested, you say?
A lot of this team played in the World Cup semi-final, lost by 1 point thing in South Africa. So,
yeah, but who was there versus now?
But I mean, Earl was there, Doji was there, Props were there, Genji was there. So a lot of these guys went on the British and Irish Lions tour as well, So there's experience they gained from that. And I mean, you don't need to look at the opposition you played against. You look at the situation they were in, being in a team that came from behind to win a series, being in a team that lost that lost a game narrowly against the Box, being in a team that lost a game convincingly against Australia, for example.
Yeah.
So you're looking at that aspect, bring a team that had a lot of setbacks as well. I mean, losing against Argentina, losing against Fiji. So surely they learn from that. Surely that's part of experience. I don't know if we can. Every time we look at experience, we look at it, the guy has to play as much caps as Alan Wynne Jones. I don't think we can look at
No.
Situation experience as well. And I think this team has enough situation experience,
That's interesting. No, interesting. Because how long has Borthwick been on the job now? Since 2022, right? Or just on 22?
2023 was his first Six Nations.
2023.
Yeah.
Okay. But was he employed for the end of the year tour in 2022?
I'm pretty sure that Eddie was still end of year tour in 2022.
Okay. Fair enough. So he's been on this role now for 3 years, going on 4, basically. And in the World Cup, it'll be his 4th year and his 2nd World Cup as well. Yeah, by now he should have this team humming, actually. With that longevity.
Does he really have the players, though? Not to stand up for Steve Borthwick, but look at that backline that he had. Which of those backs are getting into any of the other teams in the Six Nations, including Wales? I'm a Wales fan on here, and I'm biased, yeah. I'm looking at that, and I'm like...
I mean, who's Seb Atkinson? I've never seen him before. Gloucester. Come on. Gloucester. Aren't Gloucester like the second last team in what's his name? In the Premiership.
1 win all season. One
win. And he's playing for the national team. Wow. What are they seeing in this guy?
You have to remember, Scoop, that he used to live with the 10, so he's got cohesion. They used to share a flat, so there's cohesion.
Oh, you must be kidding me. You might as well tell me they used to play in high school together, like Camera and what's his name?
But you look at their wingers. Look, walk into a rugby club and throw a rock, you'll hit 10 players as good as those guys, right? It's
Rubak.
I genuinely just don't think that their players are very good. Look, name an English Premiership team, right? Name an English Premiership team. Their best player is foreign. Who's best player? Finn Russell. Who's Gloucester's best player? Thomas Williams. Who's Bristol's best player? Do you want to go Ravovo? Do you want to go Lewis Rees-Zammit? Do you want to go Tom Jordan? We go on and on. Newcastle Red Bulls, they're not going to be building with English talent. They're going to be signing foreign players to come in and improve.
Don't they have Ikitau and the other Australian lock or flanker already?
Exeter.
That's Exeter.
Exeter. Okay. Vickers, jump in. You've been itching to speak.
No, it's actually I'm actually enjoying what you guys are talking about because it's exactly my question. The exact question that Hugh asked now about the talent. Um, it goes back to my question would have been that most of the players that I've picked up from that English side, especially the loose forwards and the not outside backs, the backs, if I can call it, they're all about themselves. They're all about their own performance. And it's okay to lose against New Zealand because it's expected. But it's not okay to lose against Italy, to lose against Scotland when you are 12 games unbeaten. So the English media is putting those guys under pressure, is putting the selection under pressure, is putting the players under pressure. All of a sudden now, there's questions about these players. But if you look at, again, a player like Pollock, he's still young. He's going to be playing for himself. He's not going to be playing for the team. He wants to shine. He wants to score tries so that he can do his celebrations. So they have a lot to start building on. And the biggest thing that you can do as a coach, the worst thing you can do as a coach, is to ignore that you have young players or new players, because that will come back and bite you. And those are the kind of things that you need. That's why when you're down and out as a team, you need to pull together as a team and stand together and push towards the right direction. And I think that's what at the moment
They're lacking.
And that's why England at the moment are struggling, is because if you look at that team exactly and you look at in terms of their leadership, now you have to question their leadership. Now you have to question the players on the field. Maybe it's time to bring Ford back into the team because of the cool head that he has.
Farrell.
But at the end of the Farrell is a good example. So I don't know if that team has leadership, and I don't know if those guys are playing for the team. I think at the moment, for me, it looks like they're playing for themselves for the jersey. That's because of how maybe
TikTok and Instagram.
the coaching stuff. Yeah, the coaching stuff as well. Maybe coaching staff said performance gives you a jersey, and now if I'm gonna get the jersey this weekend because someone else is injured, I'm gonna be playing for myself so that I can keep the jersey. Often coaches make that mistake, and it's nothing new.
Oh, good one, Vickers. Good one. And I think Faz would be a great inclusion into this group. And I think maybe this is Borthwick's biggest mistake in never choosing Farrell for this group. Because, I mean, Farrell went to the British and Irish Lions tour in Australia, guys, for crying out loud, right? He played in, I think, there's a second test and then the third test as well. So we cannot, if we're talking about leadership and you don't have that guy in your group or in your team or squad, then there's big problems. There's really big problems currently. And maybe Maro needs to take a break as well. He's obviously come from a tough situation in the past couple of months, right? With his mom passing and everything. Maybe some time off could be great, could be good for him mentally. And maybe a few players need to stop also talking about social media, Ellis Genge, focus on the rugby, But yeah, I think, looking at this backline, for example, Elliot Daly was good in 2013, for example, or when was it, 2013-14, he was brilliant. 2017 British and Irish tour to New Zealand, brilliant. Maybe the time is up now. There should be someone coming through. But there aren't any players, clearly, if Elliot Daly is the guy they're still selecting at 15. And Marcus Smith is not the guy that's being selected at 15. He keeps sitting on the bench. You would think in a game like this, Marcus Smith would start. But that midfield combination, horrible. 25-year-old and a 23-year-old who've probably played one game together. I've never seen this combination before. Murley, Caden, really, where are Harlequins in the bigger scheme of things in the Investec Championship, for example?
Well, Harlequins have got one win all season as well, or maybe two now.
Yeah. No. There's no way, man. How come this team is not filled with Baths and Saint and the Saracens players?
Well,
literally.
Well, for Bath and Saracens, it's because they got a lot of foreign players playing for them. With Northampton, it probably should be more Northampton players. Look at
Northampton, at
Furbank,
least,
had a
yeah.
lot of time off injured. Alex Mitchell is Northampton. He's been injured. Finn Smith is Northampton. He came in, but they've been playing George Ford over him. And then Dingwall and Freeman have been playing in the centres. And Dingwall and Freeman maybe isn't the best centre combination in the world. It's probably not even the best centre combination in the UK. But, I think it's the best option that England have got for them in terms of cohesion.
Yeah.
On your point, I think Elliot Daly is a great example, Scoop, because, Elliot Daly is a thinker of the game. He's got a great rugby brain. He's a very smart player.
Yeah.
But, eventually the years catch up with you. And if you look at his speed, his footwork, his ball handling, his physicality, it's just not there and anymore. And I'm sorry, time's up. And if you look at the options that England have got a fullback, you've got Elliot Daly. They brought Marcus Smith on yesterday against Italy. As soon as Smith came on, Italy put 2 bombs on him, and he didn't win either of them because he's not a fullback. He's a fly half, and he never will be an international level fullback. His club wouldn't even play him there, given the choice. And then you've got Freddie Stewart. Guys, we know the limitations of Freddie Stewart. People were talking about moving him to play in the centres because he doesn't have the agility to be a back 3 player. And then you've got George Furbank, who probably is their best fullback, but he's always injured. So this is what I'm saying. What players do they have? Who are you jealous of in that England team? Are you saying, I wish we had a player like that?
This is a Curry Cup team, man. Definitely a Curry Cup team. Huh? Anyway, Jade, talk to me. Your Blues winning against the Crusaders.
Finally, Scoop, finally. Now, you know what? How did the Crusaders win this championship last year? You telling me that they missed Tom Christie this much, for the hard work and the hard tackles he put in there? I just can't believe the Crusaders has dropped off as well. They big name players are not playing. I mean, without Will Jordan there, you knew the Blues had a chance. And then they get Bowden Barrett back this weekend. He just came and had one of those Bowden Barrett games again. It was influential. The backline clicked for once, Caleb Clark's looking good, playing good rugby at the moment. A few years ago on this podcast, Vuyo stated there and he said Cody Vai will be a superstar in New Zealand rugby one day. 7 series, Vuyo stated it. I think Cody Vai was 17, 18 years old when Vuyo saw him. And I mean, we've seen it the way he finished that try. So he's looked like one, that's coming through. Yeah. But other than that, for me, Crusaders, I mean, the big name players are not playing. I mean, you look at Leicester. Leicester's a shadow himself was what he was last year for Toulon and for the All Blacks. Are really still been doing up really things at times. The wins as well. Maybe Penny should freshen up this team. Maybe you should look at, bringing Ollie Mathers in. Maybe, getting somebody, what's this guy's name? Tuatavaki at center. Maybe do something like that. Just freshen it up because I think this team is maybe. I think this team needs to be freshened up. And also, Scoop, you know what? As much as people criticize him or what, but I mean, how much does this team miss a guy like Scott Barrett, how much do they miss him? And maybe we'll see now the Crusaders doing it's been so inconsistent. What a type of player he is, with all of the criticism he got from, being an All Black captain and performance and stuff. But how much do they miss Scooter? How much do they really miss Scooter in that team? So yeah, I think the Crusaders, Penny, I think they'll still be fine to make top 6, but doesn't look good for them. The Blues needed this win. They needed this win because they weren't playing good rugby. They didn't have good style. They had to get this win. They don't normally win much against the Crusaders. They had to win. We saw Vern shifting the ball a little bit. But yeah, in terms of the weekend, I think this was a more must-win game for the Blues than for the Crusaders. I don't know what's your thoughts on it, Scoop. I don't know who stood out for you, but for me, the guys I mentioned, Don, Cody, Caleb, obviously Bowden had a good game. And yeah, for me, that's the way the Blues went.
Yeah, no, I think it was good to see Bowden Barrett, actually. I mean, he looked quite accurate with his goal kicking. He looked to be running the show. He looked fresh as well. I know a lot of people in New Zealand or a lot of All Blacks are copying a lot of flack from the pundits because of all these breaks that they're getting. But, I mean, he looked fresh, he looked committed, and he looked to be running that Blues team to the right channels in the right areas. Cody Vai looked impressive for me. Barnes is coming through in leaps and bounds, which is nice. Caleb Clark, I mean, yes, can he stay injury-free just for one season? Just for one season. He's strong. He's good in the air. I mean, if he could just stay strong and if he could just stay injury-free, just for one season, he could be one of the top try scorers in international rugby because I trust his ability to carry. I trust his ability to beat you one-on-one. I trust his ability to be able to be more effective in the air because the All Blacks have missed this, before the season started, he was in AFL with one of the Australian teams. We know how much they put a lot of emphasis on the aerial skills there. So he was there to brushing up on his skills as well. Because international rugby commands it at the moment. But yeah, it's good to see the Blues coming back, and they needed this win more than anything. But quite disappointing, obviously, from a Crusaders perspective. They didn't have the punch. They didn't have the dominance for me. Yes, maybe Hannah stood out here and there, and then he had to walk out injured. And I thought, man, bro, if you want to have a chance in that All Black jersey, because he's one of the talked about locks in New Zealand at the moment, you really also need to be injury free. But I mean, it's a physical confrontational sport, so those things happen. And on the wingers, I'm tired of Sivu Reece. I'm not going to lie. I mean, he should be sitting on the bench this season. Players that need to be rested, Sivu Reece is one of those players at the moment for me. I mean, we saw last week he was being chased down by Josh Jacob at 10, guys. Yeah, at 10. And who was it on comms? I think it was Tony Jackson. And he was like, Sivu Reece is fast, but Josh Jacob chased him down, which was crazy, man. So yeah, for me personally, I thought it was a good Blues performance, but for the Crusaders, man, horrible. Without Will Jordan as well, they didn't look like a team that had any ideas in terms of creativity. I do like what's his fly off now? Rivers, Rehana. I do like him at 10, but at times I think Camera could be a better 10 than him. Maybe they could have swapped those two again, because also Hotham and Camera have played together in high school, Hugh Griffin, at 9 and 10. But yeah, nonetheless, I thought it was an impressive one. Hurricanes for me over the Waratahs, effective, efficient. I think for them it was a response weekend after losing against the Drua by 5 points in the drenching, wet. I think they were playing in a pool of water in Fiji last week. I mean, you couldn't get any ascendancy in those conditions, but the Fijians were quite good at it. But against the Waratahs in Sydney, man, they walloped them. They walloped them good. And it's good to see Amua coming through in the mix and also staying injury-free at hooker, which is good, impressive. He also needs to stay injury-free because All Blacks, I think this season, a lot of players need to come through this tournament without any injuries, a lot of those players, because also they're taking about, 39, 40-odd people to South Africa for the tour.
They've already confirmed it will be 45 plus.
Just like it. Okay, might as well make it 50. That's a lot. And a lot of people and a lot of players will be putting their hands up in that tour, definitely. And then the Reds upsetting the Brumbies, unexpected. I'm not gonna lie, did not expect this. But I'm happy about this win. Now it kind of confirms that the Reds didn't fluke their way to beating the Highlanders the week before. Because I was very...
Did you ever see a team that's 10 points down with 78 and a half minutes played, still going to win the game, you know?
Yeah, man.
For the Reds, I'm just happy that you Carter Gordon, got the try, because I think he's too good.
He's looking mint. He's looking very good. Australia needs that.
And I don't know if you watch the game, but what do you think about Salakai Lotto's defensive mall defense there.
And he's pulling people's pants down. What a mess. What a mess. That's a crazy distraction, actually, for any player. If you are trying to be driving for a maul and the opponent is pulling your pants down in the middle of the field, now you're not even focused on the maul anymore. Now you're focused on pulling your pants up, and you don't get the ascendancy in the drive. But nonetheless, I think overall it's been a good Super Rugby weekend. I mean, Highlanders winning against the Force struggled a bit, but it's good to see them win. But yeah, I think for a Jamie Joseph's perspective, from what I think, he needs to get this Highlanders team into the playoffs to also show us as the public, as the fans as well, that, hey, I do have the minerals to be taking a not so good team into a playoff season. And then next year, take them all the way to winning this competition, to show also the New Zealand public regarding the All Black role, that I can do this and put a team in a very good position, so I can do the same if I would be selected for the All Black job, for example. I mean, with Japan, we did bloody well in 2019, but post that, we never saw Japan perform the same way they did. I mean, in Japan in the World Cup, yes, it was probably motivational for them, emotional, hosting a World Cup at home. You could play or tap into those emotive parts, and you could tap into that energy as well. But then post that, I mean, we need a bit of consistency from him. When they lost against the Reds, I was really disappointed in him more than his team, because they couldn't have the shape, they didn't have the structures, they didn't have the foundation to operate from, and too many handling errors. Yes, it happens, but yeah, if he really wants that role as an All Black coach, yeah, he just needs to do better with the Highlanders, I think. But yeah, that's my Griffin, jump in.
Well, where's his headspace now? Because if we're led to believe he got really close to the All Blacks job, and he's been going through the interview process, and he's talked about how extensive it was. So I assume he's been doing like prep for it, research for it, interviews for it. He finishes Highlanders training, he goes home and he works on his All Blacks application, and now he's not got it. What's his headspace at? What's his relationship with the Highlanders upper management like? Do they need to say, bro, take some time off, because he can't be, after coming that close to his dream job, what I assume is his dream job. Imagine turning up to Highlanders training, the worst team in New Zealand, the next day, getting out of your car and walking into the building.
Yeah.
What's that like? He's got to be in a strange place mentally.
He did come out on Friday, and he did state that it was a very thorough and fair process, because apparently it was Kirk and I think it was Coles and Mailam all spent a week at Kobe's training and a week at the Highlanders training, which actually annoyed both clubs, but they did it. They spent time in the training, looking at the methods, looking at the way they speak to players, all of that. So it was a very thorough selection process, and he did come out and state that. So I think they must have told him, behind the scenes, Jamie, we still need you in New Zealand rugby. And we are aware that, if we do get an offer to go somewhere else, we will leave. But at the moment, we still want to utilize you in New Zealand rugby. I think that's the message that they did get. And I think you'll still continue as the New Zealand 15 coach, ex-week coach. But yeah, I think they were very thorough with him. I think it wasn't the same like the last time where they forced Jamie Joseph to apply for a job. Was it Jamie Joseph? Or if somebody was forced, Razor was forced to apply for the job that was actually given to Foster. So they actually
that was Foster. Foster was forced to apply.
So basically, that's actually funny. The New Zealand Rugby Union called Razor and said, please, can you come for the interview? Can you apply for the job? Because we need a candidate against Foster, basically. So that's what was told. But I think this time it was really a 2-horse race, and I think it was a thorough review selection. And you know what, to not to dwell on this for too long, but I think this time around, if you're looking at it, they did it in 7 weeks, which New Zealand Rugby normally takes a year to make decisions like this. They normally take a year. So they did this in 7 weeks. So I think they did as best as they can. And maybe but too long for the fans.
But the thing is, with this whole year process thing, I mean, you already knew who was the next head coach. So for me, I'm happy with 7 weeks because, I mean, even if you, Jade, were to apply for a job for next month or for June or July or whatever, the process would take roughly a month or 2 weeks at best, depending on your availability, and also depending on how high or senior. I mean, CEO are not going to take a whole year to be employed, to be a CEO for an organization, right? We can talk about, yes, the rugby might be different, but at the end of the day, it's still a job. It's still a job that you need to tick certain boxes. You need to go through certain interview processes. I mean, for example, some IT or tech companies take about 5 to 6 steps, going through an interview process. And for me, I see no difference in this. Whether they took 7 weeks, whether they would take a year, I'm just happy with the fact that they've done it in this manner, where they go to visit you at your club to see what you're doing, go and talk to people that you've coached or are currently coaching, and getting them to understand because the thing is, I think with the Kirk, for example, with that review that came back from Razor's tenure in 2020 last year, they probably saw a lot of red flags and they went, oh, we cannot have this, Hence, they would go to clubs, because I don't think they've ever had an opportunity to go to a club and having to talk with or having to see what you do at training, having to talk with the players that you're currently coaching, having to do all these sorts of things. And then you still have to go and sit with them for 4 to 5 hours doing a presentation and being grilled by the board, etc., about your plans, about how do you sort this, how do you sort X, how do you sort Y, etc., etc. So for me, I think this was perfect. I'm just glad that no Irish person or Irish media broke the news about the new coach. Vickers, you wanted to jump in there?
No, I was going to say, I actually feel the process is too long, because at the end of the day, you must remember, when you open up an application, you basically saying, let's go through all the CVs and see who's attractive to us. That's the first start. Then it's a short listing. And then from there, I feel you shouldn't have more than 3 guys that you're chasing. Then in those 3 guys, you can already start to see who's involved where, what are they doing, what have they done before. Because if you look at, I mean, you and I and the guys in the group, we didn't have that information. We don't have Dave Rennie's CV and Jamie Joseph's CV. We go with what we've seen as rugby lovers, that we've watched rugby. And I think that's the biggest thing. That's always the biggest issue for me when it comes to administrators, is that they're involved in a sport that they don't even watch and don't even follow. And as a coach, surely we all could have seen that. That's why we all said Dave Rennie should get the job, because we've seen what he's done. We don't know how he coaches, 100%. We don't know how he treats the players, but we've seen that this guy took a team, a Glasgow team, and made them perform. He took a national team, Australia, and made them perform. So surely he's got the recipe, but it's just a matter of, is he right for this brand that we're looking at? So I think for me, those processes are always too long. But again, it's a process that HR has to agree with, and with the money in the sport, again, it's to obviously justify why this person is getting this big money.
True.
And I guess that's the crux of the matter, basically.
Fair. Jade, parting shots.
Parting shots this week. Okay, Scotland and Ireland, when they do play the weekend, it's going to be a game to watch, because both teams are going to go and try to get as much points. Because there's a mathematical chance, that they can still win this nation. So that's going to be one of those games where...
Another 90-pointer.
It could be, it could be a high-scoring game. I don't see teams taking 3. I think both of them try and secure the bonus point first, and then the victory, go the wrong way around. But yeah, it's going to be one of the games you can watch. It can be another high-scoring basketball game.
Griffin?
Dear RFU, please keep Steve Borthwick forever.
You've been sitting on that one for a bit. Vickers, your parting shots, or your predictions for next week?
Well, not predictions. My parting shot is, we saw the first 100 in the SA Cup. This cup is becoming very special for these kind of scores. So I don't know where the defense coaches are, but there seems to be a lack of defense coaches in South Africa. Guys, I'm available if anyone needs. So please.
There it is. Guys, final weekend of Six Nations next week. There is some Super Rugby. I think there's URC next week, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so plenty of rugby. And then after that, we know, we're just counting down the months. In June, July, test matches are coming around the corner, guys. It's going to be interesting. There's a lot of travel for the European teams down south. And let's see how that goes for the Nations Cup. But thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Thank you to the listeners. Thank you, Jade. Thank you, Vuyo. Thank you, Hugh. And yes, have a lovely Sunday. And I'll see you guys. We'll chat next week, Sunday.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.